Do you have examples of God making connections and opening doors that you could never have imagined? We'll hear lots of examples today as we talk with actress Stephanie Parker, who claims that God has been the casting director in her career. We'll also talk about the value of Christian film festivals, the relationships that you develop with other filmmakers there, and more. But first, can I ask you a favor? Would you please follow this podcast right now on your podcast player so you don't miss an episode? And if you think others would be interested in listening, please rate and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. That will really help us get off to a strong start with this new podcast.
This is the Faith and Family Filmmakers podcast, helping filmmakers who share a Christian worldview stay in touch, informed, and inspired. Quiet on set. Rolling. Your hosts, Geoffrey and Jaclyn Whitt.
Welcome to the Faith and Family Filmmakers podcast. I'm Jeff.
And I'm Jaclyn.
And we're back for our second week. Our podcast launch with our first 8 episodes was 1 week ago today.
Yay!
And we're so excited with the response.
Thank you all so much for listening and leaving reviews and for sharing and helping to create a buzz online.
Yes, it's all been very helpful.
I've even received several private messages from people saying that they love the podcast and that it's been helpful and eye-opening.
And we've even had people contacting us wanting to know more about our guests.
This is exactly what we were hoping for when we decided to create the podcast.
Exactly. Well, so far we've had directors, producers, writers, and a talent agent on our show. Today we've got an actor, Stephanie Parker.
Stephanie Parker is a wife and mom of 2 kids. She has a passion for learning and teaching the Bible because the Word of God changed her life. Time and time again, God has used Scripture in her life to carry her through some of her hardest moments, like losing a child and losing her father to COVID. God has taught her that He truly can work all things for good and for His glory, if we let Him. In addition to being passionate about the Word of God, Stephanie also has enjoyed acting in films, running a business based on a product she invented to help her daughter sleep, featured on Shark Tank, and writing children's books and screenplays. All of these endeavors have been part of many adventures God has taken her on once she began seeking and obeying Him.
Welcome, Stephanie.
Thank you. Hi.
Good to have you.
I'm glad to be here.
Okay, so we met in 2018 at Content Media Festival. Everybody just knows it as Content in Texas. Yeah, exactly. And we didn't really get to know each other too well there, but we did meet there. We did exchange emails, and we have on occasion, sent stuff back and forth. So that's really cool. And it's just, It's amazing how many people we meet at film festivals. So were you already at that time working as an actress, or were you just getting into it? Where were you at in your career in 2018?
So I had taken a big break from acting in general to be a mama to my kiddos. And so I had just felt kind of called to go back into it for the very first time. And really, I think that was, I want to say it was the very first film festival I ever attended. And it was such an answer to prayer for me because I live 40 minutes from there. And so I was shocked that in the middle of literally Timbuktu, because it is in the middle of nowhere where they hold this film festival, and we live in the country. And so I was just shocked that there was something that really was an answer to prayer so close to home. That was one of the first, I don't know how many they did before the one we went to, but it was really small then. Which was nice because we had a chance to know each other. And I remember you sending me this awesome short film script at the time back then. And so it was kind of a walking into this for the first time after a long time of being away.
Nice. And so what kind of work did you do earlier? Were you like a child actor, or how did you even get into acting?
I know. Well, I did more theater acting growing up, really just, community kind of theater and through school. But then when I want to say I was 20, 22 maybe, I happened to have been living on a cruise ship at the time. I was an art auctioneer. And so I worked for an art gallery and they sent me on different cruise lines to do art auctions. And
exciting.
I know it's kind of random, but I was there and just felt like, what I was really passionate about was acting, and I never had a chance to really pursue it. So I actually left that position and went and lived in LA for a while. But very shortly after that, met my husband and we were married. And within 6 months, I was pregnant with our first baby. And so that was when I put things on hold and God opened the door for us to do different things based on something I created for a little girl to sleep, actually. And so that took a lot of our time. It was like kind of a small business that we had started, and God totally ran with it and blessed it more than we could have imagined. And so that took me
Wow.
away from it for a while. And really what kind of got me back into acting after taking that big sabbatical was our church. It's a bigger church, and every 2 years they will do a full-scale Broadway musical for like 10,000 people. Like they don't mess around. And it is really high quality. And I just got a
Wow.
chance to be part of it. And it just to be able to do what I love in the context of being Christ-centered and glorifying God, it was incredible. It just kind of ignited that fire. And I started praying, all right, Lord, do you want me to do this again? Is this something that would be within your will? And do you want to use me in this way? And really 2018 was really like the very first thing I did was go to that
Wow.
film festival. I was just so shocked that there was anything like that, because when I had done it, I'd say about 12 years prior, there really wasn't anything in the Christian film. It was very small. It has grown since then, and so I
Oh,
just see
yeah.
God's timing in that too. So yeah, that's the story.
It was our
Awesome.
first film festival as well.
Oh
But
yeah.
not only that, I just want to mention for anybody that's not familiar with content, you mentioning it's out in the middle of nowhere. And it's kind of true, but it's at Capernaum Studios, which makes it not in the middle of nowhere anymore because
It's true. It's a location.
it's a
Yeah, yeah.
significant location. But it's not in a big city. It's out in the ranches. So they've got lots of space there for
Yes,
great
yeah.
filming.
Yeah, no, I love the location. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
so
neat.
let's talk about what you've been doing since then. Like, how did you get back into acting? Because you've been in some pretty big films over the last couple of years. And so tell us, how did that all happen?
Um, One little audition at a time, and God just opened doors that I could never have opened. I firmly believe that, although God has 100% blessed me with an amazing agent in Treasure Coast Talent, Gene, and I do have another agent in Oklahoma now, Real Talent, which is amazing. But I do believe, especially when it comes to the doors God has opened, that he's the real casting director. He's the real agent. And he's been so faithful in just blessing this journey in ways that I could never have asked or imagined. And so really he deserves the glory for it. But it has been an adventure. I think so. I had started acting, but really the most significant role I'd played, kind of getting back into it, was the Kendrick brothers film Life Mark. And that was another God story, because really it was also one of the very first film festivals I attended was the ICFF. And I was so nervous. Didn't know a single person going into that. It was scary, and I just said, all right, Lord, put me next to the person you want me to talk to. You know the hearts of the people that are here. So will you please orchestrate that in your will? And there was an opportunity to deliver a monologue at the film festival. And it was this room where only the directors and producers could go and watch these auditions, kind of to sort of precast or kind of develop a roster of people they wanted to go back to
Right.
when they had a project. And I had found out about it so late that it was full already. And so I'd asked the lady running the room, I said, is there any way that I could kind of squeeze in if there's an opening? And she said, you know what? Why don't you just sit in the room, and if something happens and opens up, we'll squeeze you in. Well, to kind of back up just a little bit, 2 days prior to going to this film festival, I had watched Like Arrows in theaters, which is a film that the Kendrick brothers made with Kevin Peoples for Family Life Ministries. It was a parent course that was supposed to be brought to churches to do with other parents that wanted kind of wisdom on how to parent their kids well. And I really had I had heard about this film on the radio and the parent course, and we had already asked our church if we could bring it to our church to lead. And I had attended it 2 days before going to this film festival, because we were going to be bringing that film and that parenting course to our church. Okay, fast forward again to this film festival, and I sit down in this room with all these directors and producers, and this guy pops down next to me And he had a sticker on his little name tag that indicated he had a film in the festival. And I looked at him and I said, "Oh, you have a film in the festival. What is your film?" And he said, "Oh, Like Arrows." And I couldn't believe it because I had just seen it two
Right.
days
Yeah.
prior. It was Kevin Peoples, and we were able to just sit and talk in between people delivering their monologues, and there were no other actors allowed in that room at the time. She just had to squeeze me in. So that was so God's timing. And I
Uh-huh.
had made my headshots in my front yard with my cell phone and printed them at Kinko's, to the point where Kevin looks at me and he goes, "You may want to consider getting a different headshot." He was so sweet. But he said, "I'm gonna wait until you can be fit in, and I wanna watch your audition." I had written a monologue actually based on, um, actually the loss of a child, and I was able to perform it, and afterwards, he's like, "I'm gonna keep your information, and if ever there's a role that you'd be a fit for, I will make sure that you can audition." And
Mm.
I remember calling my husband afterwards, like, this was a God thing. I don't know when or how this is gonna amount to anything, but I know God's hand was in this for sure. And not only that, but I met Micah Hansen, who played the lead in that, who's one of my best friends now.
Oh,
And
nice.
yeah, it's just so cool. And she and I have walked life together, and she is just a sweet sister in Christ. But needless to say, 3 years later, I get a email from Bev Holloway, who's the casting director for Lifemark, and she said, "The director is requesting an audition from you." And
Wow.
it was Kevin Peoples. So I auditioned
Nice.
and booked the role, and it was such a gift from the Lord. I can't even tell you.
Mhm.
It was such a gift from the Lord in ways that have nothing to do with the role. You know what I mean? Nothing to do with the film, but just I all I can say is God is really the casting director, and he utilized, Kevin Peoples in that process. And I'm so
Mhm.
thankful, the Kendrick brothers. And it was a dream to be able to work with them. And it was a prayer that I had prayed and written down that prayer. And so it was so sweet of the Lord to honor that and answer that prayer so specifically. And also was so sweet to be able to go back to one of the very first things I did was go to that film festival and to say that his hand was on it from the beginning. And I'm able to look back on those moments where I have doubts, or should I keep going? Like, this is hard, there's a lot, it's hard.
Mhm.
And I can keep looking back to that moment of saying, I can't deny the hand of God in that season. And so to trust his hand in that, and to be able to
Mhm.
be patient in the waiting and the hard things that come from being in this industry.
Yeah, for sure. One of the things I love about attending film festivals, especially as the years pass and we continue to attend them, is we get to watch each other's careers blossom.
Mhm.
Like for you and I having met at that festival, for both of us kind of going more in faith, saying, "Okay, God, I believe you're calling me. And so this is part of me stepping out in faith and meeting other people that are called to the same industry. And as I'm approaching this career, I'm doing it for you. Therefore, I'm going to surround myself with other brothers and sisters of the faith."
Uh-huh.
But what's amazing is as we continue to see each other in the future, we can actually follow each other's careers. Like when I first went to content, like I had completed first drafts of screenplays, but I had never gotten to the point where it was like ready to put in festivals or pitch to producers. I hadn't gotten to that polishing stage yet. I was still learning, but I knew that's where I wanted to go. And so I didn't want to wait until I was already there, like,
Right.
with my ability. I wanted to just jump in
Yeah.
and
Start getting to know people.
Yes,
yeah.
100%. And it's so cool to see how God has taken your journey and just refined you and perfected the process to where now you're putting out screenplays that, I mean, everyone cried at the table read for your screenplay. It was just such a powerful story that has the ability to change perspectives. And your screenplay was so beautiful. And I think giving you a different appreciation for the season that God has placed you in, no matter what that season looks like. And everyone needs those messages. And God has put that message into your heart because of the life you've lived, and he's not wasting it. And so it's
Mhm.
really neat to see how God has brought you along this journey too.
Oh, thank you. And that script is Flashback Jane. Nathan Blair is producing it.
Woohoo.
Yeah.
You were in one of his movies recently as well. Am I correct?
It's actually a series called Fragments.
Oh, okay.
And I play Mark Christopher Lawrence, who's a comedian. I played his wife in that.
Okay.
Hey everyone, this is Dan with the Christian Worldview Film Festival. The festival this year is March 11th through 15th at Sherwood Church in Albany, Georgia. We have over 35 sessions scheduled on topics like screenwriting, lighting, AI, and post-production, from speakers like Alex and Stephen Kendrick, Bruce Marciano, Jaclyn, Whitt, and many more. Go to cwvff.com for more information and for tickets.
Actually, you are very versatile as an actress. Like,
Oh.
you can do comedy and like over-the-top characters. Probably your theater days have really prepared you for that. But you can also do like very dramatic roles. Do you have like a different approach? How did you manage to have such a diverse acting repertoire?
Yeah, again, I see God's hand in that from a really young age. When I was little, I don't know, it probably annoyed my entire family. I would mimic accents. Like if I heard them in a video or like we were watching a movie, I would repeat them either audibly or in my head. Usually they would tell me to be quiet. And so I would do it in my head. I feel like accents and languages have always been a passion of mine. And so I don't know, I love studying nuances of sound and facial expression. So for me, it's just a different fun challenge. And so I love doing a variety of things. Accents are one of my favorite challenges to do, but I also really love like gritty roles that kind of pull off of what God has carried me through when I can connect with a character and just the heartache that life can sometimes bring, and then be able to show the redemption that can come through that because of God's grace and because of his mercy in that situation. That to me is a beautiful thing. So it's different. It's like two different, different boxes in my brain almost. It's like, okay, we're going to go in this door today and then we're going to open this door today. And I love both sides of that for different reasons. I often in theater, I will get cast as the crazy, like the villain or the person with a really thick accent or some, interesting character. And then in film, I do that a little bit, but I tend to gravitate more toward the roles that connect to the heart a little bit. So yeah, it's just kind of whatever God opens the door for. It's been fun. It's been an adventure.
Well, we're going to be talking further with Stephanie about pursuing acting by faith and some advice for aspiring actors when we get into our members portion of the interview. But for now, Stephanie, can you tell us about some more of the things you've acted in?
Yeah. Okay. So just recently, a film came out on GAC PureFlix. GAC is the company that kind of was formed by this former CEO of Hallmark that came away from that and created a new platform that's more faith and family oriented. It was a film called Divine Influencer, and Laura Silva from The Chosen is a star of that. And I played an abused woman that comes into this homeless shelter to find refuge and healing and hope for her future. It's directed by Sherry Rigby, who's amazing. It's a very female-driven production crew and cast, and really just an incredible group of women. Sherry has an organization called The Women in My World, where she really finds ways of elevating and preparing the next generation of filmmakers and actors. And so it was a sweet, sweet thing to be a part of. I'm really thankful to be a part of that. Another film that should be coming out this year that I am over the moon excited about is Disciples in the Moonlight, that is directed by Brett Varvel and written by Josh Strakowski. It's an action adventure thing, kind of in a apocalyptic era where the Bible is being censored by the government. And so there's these underground churches that are having to smuggle the Bible. So it's just an incredible story, really phenomenal actors that are a part of this. Just a very timely message, I think, as well, especially post-COVID and just seeing the way the world is at the moment. When they wrote this 10 years ago, and God kind of had them put it on hold. It wasn't ready to happen yet. And I think the way the world has progressed, the timing is God's perfect timing. So I'm excited to see what'll happen with that. That's something I'm praying for as well, just that God uses it to reach a lot of people in our world. There's another film that I'm a part of that just finished filming called The Wolf. I play a counselor, and it is kind of a edge of your seat wilderness sort of thriller. I don't know if that makes sense. So it's the thriller is really the wolf that this guy is hunting, but then kind of going into the psychology of the hunter and the healing that is needed in his life and the redemption that eventually comes by way of learning and growing through that experience. That was fun because I've never played a character like that. Another film that I just filmed, it's actually a torch for Angel Studios that is going to be coming out here soon. And it is based on a true story. The Torch was written by Trey Reynolds, who did Family Camp. And he also was a producer on The Forge, which is coming out, the Kendrick brothers' next film. And just incredible guy. But the story behind this mission is amazing. It's the CUPS mission is what it's based on. And it goes and really reaches the poor and needy in the Dominican Republic. Powerful story behind that. So I'm excited for that one to come out as well. So yeah, those are a few of the things that I'm a part of. There's a couple more I'm probably forgetting.
You were in a Christmas movie recently, weren't you? Before we finish up this portion of our interview, I'd like to take a moment to invite you to go deeper with us in our discussion with Stephanie Parker in Part 2, our exclusive members episode. Stephanie talks about divine encounters during film shoots, the healing power of art and story, the importance of a quality actor's reel, investing in your career, and more. She also shares her story of getting an agent. If you'd like to hear Stephanie's bonus episode and would like to continue receiving these exclusive episodes going forward, please support the podcast by becoming a supporting member. You can do so at faffpodcast.com/support. That's faffpodcast.com/support. You can also go there if you'd like to leave a one-time donation.
Well, there was, I guess Divine Influencer was one of them.
Before we finish up this portion of our interview, I'd like to take a moment to invite you to go deeper with us in our discussion with Stephanie Parker in Part 2, our exclusive members episode. Stephanie talks about divine encounters during film shoots, the healing power of art and story, the importance of a quality actor's reel, investing in your career, and more. She also shares her story of getting an agent. If you'd like to hear Stephanie's bonus episode and would like to continue receiving these exclusive episodes going forward, please support the podcast by becoming a supporting member. You can do so at faffpodcast.com/support. That's faffpodcast.com/support. You can also go there if you'd like to leave a one-time donation. Were you in Bringing Back Christmas?
Oh, yes. I'm so sorry. Oh my goodness, my brain. When you film it so long ago, it's like, what did I do yesterday? So yes, Bringing Back Christmas, go see that one. That one is now available on Amazon Prime and all the places you can stream things. Phenomenal. Trey and Ariel Fernald and Elisa Arnold directed that. And it's just a funny, sweet film as well. So yeah, that was a great experience. And I love those people.
Awesome. Well, are there any last words, anything you would like to add? And also, please tell us where you'd like them to find you, your social media. What would you like to say as we close?
Yeah, I would just say, regardless of what facet of the industry, or maybe you're not in the industry, maybe it's something else that you're passionate about and love, whether it's acting or maybe it's art, whatever God has called you to. One of the things that has been really clear for me is to never underestimate what God can do in terms of maybe putting him in a box. One of the things that has been really eye-opening to me is that when the Bible says he can do immeasurably more than all we could ask or imagine by the power that's at work within us, it oftentimes is never about the task that's in front of us. It's about something so much bigger than that. It's maybe connecting a heart with another heart that needs prayer or guidance during a hard season of their life. Or maybe it's opening a door for you to maybe serve the Lord in a different way that you never imagined possible. And so oftentimes we limit God because we say, these are our dreams, these are our goals, this is the desire of my heart. but then to constantly resurrender that back to the Lord and say, God, I know these are my desires and I'm presenting these to you, but then let your will be done, because I know you have immeasurably more in mind than what I could even ask or imagine. So Lord, reframe my thinking, my desires, my will to fit yours. And then just to always carry those things with a really open hand, because you just never know the adventures. The adventures God has taken me on in this life have been truly immeasurably more, and never anything I would have imagined for myself. I never wrote those on a goal board or a dream board for the year. I never planned any of this, but it's better. And all I had to do was just abide in him, and you will bear much fruit. And it's never fruit that we think it's going to be oftentimes. It's better.
Yes, absolutely. I can definitely testify to that. Well, thank you so much for this portion, and I'm looking forward to hearing more of what you have to say in the members portion of this interview. We will have your links and bio and all of that in our show notes for our listeners to learn more about you and the projects that you're in. I know there are so many more that we didn't even get to.
Yes. Oh, there is one more that I'm about to film in Capernaum, where we first met, actually, with Nathan Blair, Empty Nets.
Ah,
So that's coming up soon. So this month, I'm going to film it. So that'll be fun. But yeah, I forgot to mention, you can find me on Instagram at Steph Parker Actress, and also on Facebook. Same.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks, Stephanie. Thanks for listening to the Faith and Family Filmmakers podcast. If you would like email reminders about newly released episodes and more, please sign up at faffpodcast.com/email. That's faffpodcast.com/email. Bringing filmmakers together for faith and family.
That's a wrap.